there is Time to Sparkle and Shine, where I interview amazingly powerful, intuitive women that have been so guided by the spirit within them that they stand out from the crowd. A bit like the women that I work with, that are fellow light workers, that are here to make a difference, and that are, that are just here to make a difference in the world. And that's where I come in. And I've got a fabulous guest on this morning. And her name is Marcia ORregan. And I met Marcia a few years ago with Glow Your True Colours, because colour is really, really important to me. And I love the power of it. And I love the language that she spoke around about the power of colour. And we've been in and out of our lives and friends ever since. So it's absolutely fantastic that I have the opportunity that she's going to come along this morning and talk. So me, myself, because it is time of transformation and change, I am going through my own transformation. So I am. I'm upgrading, looking differently at the way that I approach my business and how I am going to work with women going forward. So I got myself a mentor and coach, and so it's really, really interesting when you have the support of somebody behind you, the difference that it actually can make to your world. And I can feel myself getting more in alignment with what it is that I want to do, and leaning more and following my intuition. Something that I've done all over the years, but realistically, I never really pushed it beyond my comfort zone. So this is pushing me way beyond my comfort zone, which is great. So I will hopefully do a webinar that will be coming up in early October, and it is and it'll be about fear. So it's going to be about how it is that you can overcome fear, what it is you can do with it, how you can use it, what it can actually do to fuel you when you're moving forward with your life. And that's going to lead to a 6-week course dealing specifically about fear, which will be in the end of October. Forward to that. I'm delighted. I think Marcia has has made it on. Yep, let's hopefully. Yes, she is. Oh,
it is.
There's always that moment where you're going, okay, is this actually going to work? Is technology going to cooperate? Because where I am here at the moment, it's quite foggy. So the Wi-Fi is set to the hill, but if you can't see the hill, the Wi-Fi can be a bit like that. Marcia, you're looking gorgeous as always, and welcome.
Delighted to be here, Marie. I have to choose here with that. It must be the Irish Wi-Fi here in Cork.
Yeah.
It can be a bit up and down, but anyway, we don't let it stop us, Marie.
We won't. No, we definitely won't let it stop us. So, Marcia, I mean, we met years ago, and you are, to me, you're probably the epitome of the woman the businesswoman that I want to be, because I think you're just amazing and hugely powerful, empathic, intuitive, and powerful. And somebody that's listened, you've learned over the years to listen to yourself, to listen to your intuition, to be guided, and you're always expanding and growing, which is absolutely fabulous. So, when you were growing up, would you have been aware of that there was something within you, that there was something that you needed to do? Were you what were you like growing up? Like, were you aware of it?
I can't remember. That was too long ago, Marie. But I think the thing is, for me, is that and a lot of people have asked me that, like, have you always had this gift? And I feel I always knew that there was something. Well, first of all, I always knew I was different in our family.
Yeah.
I remember as a child, like, going to bed and my hands, they'd look normal, but I would see them expand, like double in size, and it used to frighten me. So I knew I had something.
Yeah.
And I was always, I suppose I was always feeling in tune, like to something more than the physical.
Yeah.
And what happened for me then, I suppose, was, you know, I was sensitive. I was always a very sensitive person. So I would pick up on a lot of stuff. And that actually did lead, you know, to stomach problems, because I was holding it all in the gut. And it really wasn't until I was about 21 or 22, that I started really, you know, exploring avenues of how I can channel. I think they're probably channels. We all have, we're all heading in the same, we all more or less want the same things. We're all heading that, you know, same direction, but there's many different pathways. So it's really about each individual finding the best path that suits them.
Totally. Yeah, and I so get that. And all of the women that I've interviewed, and this is like 14 or 15 women that are just outstanding. And it's the different paths that they've all taken that were theirs, for basically to you know, that they saw, they felt, and they followed. You know, they followed the clues, and it led them to the path that they were meant to be on, which is absolutely fabulous. And I think, you know, part of the reason of doing all of these things is to show women out there that there are so many different options that you can go for. You know, that it doesn't, you know, you have to be guided by yourself. And you, because you wanted to travel as well, so you had a dream. You know, the part of it is that you wanted to go to France, or you wanted to travel. Particularly, you want something with French speaking, and circumstances. You made those circumstances happen in your life.
Yeah. So what happened was, so first of all, I want to acknowledge my mother, right? So because my mother was a very big part of my life. And she really, because it was really when I left Ireland at 19, I left Ireland. I actually got a job in Aer Lingus at Heathrow Airport. I would have been, you know, a real home bird. And she said to me, she was like, Mag, go to London, give it a go. And if you don't like it, you can always go back. And so that was really when I grew up. Like, that's when I came into my own, right? Yeah. So I went there. I cried for the first 3 months, but I thought, I really am so glad that that was a big uncomfortable thing for me to do, because I knew nobody. I hadn't my aunt and uncle who were there. I had never, I think I was that was my second time getting on a plane, you know, for the interview. So, and it was really when I went to London and started exploring. I mean, I was so afraid. When I went to London first, I stayed on the Piccadilly line. I was afraid to get off the other lines. That'll tell you kind of how innocent I probably was, you know. And so then I started kind of, you know, I tried reflexology, I tried, I did Reiki, and I went to this kinesiologist, Clement, who's in Tipperary, but he was also in Castlemartyr, in Cork. And he said to me, you have, every time I see you, I see colour. Have you heard of colour therapy? And I was like, no, never heard. And I didn't necessarily do anything about it. I was like, oh, I must look into that. But, you know, I also believe that there is a divine timing, and the divine always has our good in mind. And I had a teacher, a French teacher I was very friendly with in Ireland, who sent me a letter, because that time we didn't necessarily have, you know, internet like we have today. And she said, I'm interested in exploring these different therapies. Would you send off for them? So, of course, when the information came in, one of them, like, I was reading them, and one of them was colour therapy, and I was like, oh my God, you know, this is very interesting, because it's spiritual, it's scientifically proven, and it's practical, because would be very spiritually connected, but I'm also a very practical person as well, right? So I probably have a good balance of that divine feminine, divine masculine. Anyway, as I was going through that course, within 6 weeks, my stomach problems disappeared overnight. I bought a car, bought a house, a flat that I'd spent 14 years talking about. And the following year, I asked myself, what have I always talked about, but I've never done? And I have always loved France, loved the French, loved the language. And I thought, you know what? My intention is by the end of 2006, I am going to be out of this country and I'm going to be in a French-speaking country. So I thought I'm not going to limit myself. So I put it out there. I sent my CV to my friends. I started talking about it. I went to Bordeaux because I had friends in Bordeaux. I thought that could be an easy option. But again, I was like, it didn't feel like for me. And what was really interesting was in the September, I ended up in Brussels. I would have never chosen Brussels. In a settlement bank, and at the same time I was doing my colour therapy, because at that time I had trained as a colour therapist. I was doing colour therapy sessions, and I was actually flying over and back to Ireland teaching colour therapists, because I thought, oh my God, colour therapy is not in Ireland. I want to bring this to my homeland. And, and so I arrived there. I didn't know anybody again, but I actually, 2 weeks before me going, I went to a yoga retreat, and I met a guy who was English, living in Brussels, but he'd only 3 more months left. And so we exchanged numbers. So at least I met him, and he introduced me to a circle of other people. And in that circle, Pierre Alain, who was now my husband, was there. And it was 1 month after arriving in Belgium that I met him, but we ended up being friends for a while. And then a few months later, we actually started going out. So I was just like, but it was, I think the nudges and asking ourselves those questions. I think we're not here to play safe. Like, I took a risk. Like, even my mother was saying, oh my God, but you've spent years with your flat. But I rented my flat out. I was like, but my thing was, if it doesn't work out, I can always go back. But I've realized you never go back.
Never go back. No, you don't. That's just like your safety net that you tell, I can always go back. It's there, for me. But, and it's something that you realize that when once you take the steps and you put the power and the momentum and the forward momentum there, it literally brings you along, in a direction that you're meant to be going on, and that you may not actually realize at the time that's, that this is what it is that's actually meant to happen. So then what happened, so, excuse me, oh my goodness, the big, oh Lord, Kiri.
Water there.
So when then you met and you married Pierre Alain and you went on. So Brussels became your home for many, many years, but it was also your base where you expanded not only your family, but yourself and the way that you were working and getting more and more in tune and, refining and learning what was working for you and what wasn't working for you. And colour was always there as part of that. Yeah.
I mean, colour is the language of your soul, and colour is a very influential modality, and it's influential every single day. Like, if you go into the supermarket, you don't it's something that you're not conscious of, but it's a huge influence on how you're feeling, on your soul, like what your soul wants to tell you, and on your buying behavior. So you go into the supermarket and you will see, for example, organic goods, they will be lime green, because actually on an unconscious level you're thinking, oh, that must be healthy, right? But you're not aware of it, right? So for me, colour was the tool that got me to understand who am I on a soul level.
Yeah.
And it got me to heal and shift the energies, because the colour, like, they knew this back in 500 BC, right? So they burnt the manuscripts to hide this knowledge from the people, because in Egypt, they put people into temples with, glass, colored glass, and left them there for specific times, and they got better. So it's like, this has opened, I suppose I've put that down to, this has opened up my level of spirituality, and I bring that even into my business. It's like, who are you on a soul level? Like, we go to school, we learn all about the importance of the mind, we learn about, what we need to do, learning all this history. but who teaches you about you as a soul, as an energetic being that has immense power and that has feelings and senses? Like, there were many different times where I was, you know, dismissed, saying, oh, for God's sake, no, what are you doing? And I would be totally, I mean, I was like, I knew this, you know, like, even when before my mother died, I remember packing my suitcase and we were going home for Christmas, and I heard in my ear, pack a black dress. And I was like, no way, I'm not packing a black dress. Because of course I didn't want to. We arrived home, and the next day my mother died suddenly at 8:30 in the morning.
Wow.
So just like, and you know, I had said this, I was like, no, don't be mad, you know. So we as women, and I think women are very, very, very naturally intuitive, but we have been dismissed and you know, it's been kind of pared away, and we actually have stopped trusting ourselves. We don't have to see anything to believe, right?
Yeah.
We have to follow what we sense, what we know inside, and we have to own that. And I really feel that from that place, you know, you just have this fulfillment. It's such a beautiful, empowering space to be living from. And I think that's probably one of my passions, to really remind women, and that will help our men as well, by the way. So I'm not, because I love men, but I think women specifically, it's so natural for us, but we have, you know, been conditioned to act like a man, and it doesn't work for women.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And I think that the only template that women had to be successful was on the male template. They had to compete on their level. So they were never allowed to use their intuition or their understanding or their empathy or any of the gifts that were inherent within them. They were all overridden so that they had to behave in a certain way. But I think that's the beauty of the time that we're living in at the moment, is that women now are doing it their way. You know, they're working around their families. They're creating businesses that they want to live in, or that they want to embody. They want to be successful. You know, that we are worthy. I think it's the biggest thing of all for women to learn, is that we are worthy. We are worthy of success. We're worthy of having our family. We are worthy of happiness. We're worthy to be seen. We're worthy to be heard. We're worthy to be acknowledged. And we're worthy to be applauded, you know, all of these things. And it's something that I, you know, myself, I'm getting goosebumps now. I'm really, really passionate about. So, I mean, I know, Marcia, you've done many things, but one of the things that you have created is you've actually created your own colour, you know, your own colour chart that people can access and find out what it is their soul colours are, how they can use it. So tell us a bit more, what's it called and how do people find out about it?
Yeah, so this is, it's your soul color personality, so it's free. And all you need to do is you put in your name, your date of birth, and send the report. And so what this is really is that, you know, if you're showing up, so, you know, I think that's the other thing too, particularly for women, there's so many labels put on a woman. You know, she's, you know, and expectations about what it means to be a woman, right? So it's just like, maybe you're acting like a red personality. A red personality type is a leader, very passionate, determined, great energy, you know, has to manage their channel, has to manage the anger, because that is always, because each color personality has a positive and a shadow side.
Yeah.
However, you actually might be a green. So I'm like, so whereas a green is like, you've got to learn how to receive. You're a great giver. You're a natural healer, extremely intuitive. Balance would be essential for you, and you are here to actually be very wealthy, right? So it's like, maybe you are acting like a red soul personality when actually you're a green. So and a lot of people who have, you know, who take this, we'll say test, they come back and going, oh my God, you know, it totally resonates. And it gives the person permission to say, I'm okay being me. I am not a reflection of what someone else told me to be. Oh yeah, she's the, you know, like for me in my house, like in like my family, it's like I would be like the mad one. But I'm like, do you know what? I remember going to a wedding there to my brother, it was about 3 years ago, being in the room, and I heard in my ear again saying, you see, you're the one, because I was told also that I was living an illusion. You're living the reality, they're living the illusion.
Yeah.
Yes. And so it's, and the other thing I want to say as well is that when you know your soul, like that's the first part, then I teach your soul color blueprint, because you have come in, that's the other thing too. How would you be showing up in your life if you knew this truth? You have come on to this planet in the country that you're meant to come into, in the family that you're meant to be in, for your soul's development. You went away as, when you were up there, you got guidance, you had your divine council meeting about your soul's development. You were told, yes, actually, for you to learn the next evolution of your soul, you're being called down to earth, because earth, for me, I feel Mother Earth, or this earth plane, is the school for the soul, right?
Totally.
So
yeah.
it goes and it says, so you go and see, choose the parents. So you choose the parents. Now, I've only had, in the hundreds of thousands that I have worked with, I've only found twice when I've tuned in with them, which is very unusual, where it was the actual parent on an unconscious level chose the soul. But generally the soul chooses the parents 99% of the time to learn. And then when the parents have or the couple have sex, then the soul comes in, and then it incarnates into the body into its body in the womb on the 40th day. Now, you have come in because this has been written in your the weave of your energy. You've come in with everything that you need. So the color and the attributes that are inside in you, you've been born with them. You have attributes and a color that's going to make your life easier. This is like your life GPS. And you'll also discover, who are you on a soul level? What have you come back to learn? And I realized I came back to learn orange, which I understood. It was like, oh my God, that's why I've had so much emotional stuff to deal with in my life, because I was learning. And I realized as well that that's where I get my creative flair from, right? That's what I really have owned that. And you'll find as well that the different phases of your soul's blueprint come out to play in your life at different times, right? Yeah. So funnily for me at the moment, I feel that I'm in my green phase. I'm a double green. So I'm a green personality, soul color personality, and it's also here available to help me. So, and I use some of those colors then in my branding as well, so that people are connecting with me. They're connecting with my soul. They're not connecting with the human part of me. They don't know this, but it works. It's giving that vibration out. So, so if people want to, to take that free reading, it's www.glowyourtruecolors.com/numerology, and it's we'll say the English version, like COLOURS. And so that's what I would love to, and to also understand, even for our children, to say, I understand my kids much better to say, like for example, Cedric would be a magenta, so balance would be very important for him. And he's, it's a divine feminine, so he's much more in tune. I feel that he is a very intuitive child. So, we can kind of understand a bit more. And because I think that's the key. It's like when we have more information and we can understand more and take kind of, I also would like recommend to kind of lean back and lean in to kind of observe and interact with the energy. Then you get much more information, and then you can make more of a conscious choice.
Yeah, and it is really powerful stuff. And for the awareness of color, I mean, I've always loved color, and I love, you spoke about magenta. When I did yours, that was the color that had come up for me, was the magenta. And interestingly enough, for years, it would have been the color of lipstick that I would have worn, you know, that vibrant pink. It was my favorite color. So it's funny how you're unconsciously drawn
Yeah.
to specific colors, and how they can lift your spirits, and empower you. And the other thing then, Marcia, as well, because I know the other thing that we women have a problem with is money and manifestation. And that's another thing that more layers and layers and layers of stuff that because of our ancestral history and what it is that we're carrying through to us, and how it is in this generation that we are learning to transform and transmute that energy into something positive and something that can fuel us. So, you have the Inner Wealth Activator as well, which was a program that you ran,
Yes.
which was basically, so
Don't
yeah.
offer it at the moment, but I will be. But that's now, I put that into Divinely Prosper because I've created this group for, spiritually open and, women who have, who are not, because there's an awful lot out there for women who are starting out, in the whole personal development and spiritual development. But there's actually not a lot for women who are on the path, like who are advanced in their spiritual awareness. So I've created Divinely Prosper, which again was guided. And again, I didn't have all the details. I think because I follow my intuition, and our intuition is, sometimes it stretches us. It doesn't give us the easy route per se, because we're not here to stay in our comfort zone. We're here to stretch. So, but the whole thing about money for women is that if you think about us and our history, because I would go back straight, a lot to the history. So the history of women is that, first of all, women, we don't have the experience of having money of our own, because the system, the patriarchy, didn't allow women to have that. If you think about even in Ireland, 48, 49 years ago, women who got married had to give up work, right? So
I remember that.
Right?
Yeah, when I started nursing, there were women that would have been before me that would have had to give up their jobs.
That's right. Okay, so this is what we're changing. We are changing what, and women then label themselves, I'm not good with money. I'm like, listen, you are good with money, right? First of all, what we need to know is that money is a sacred energy, right? We knew that, like the ancients, and this is why I would not necessarily work just even with Divine Feminine. I work with the ancient Divine Feminine. I work with the ancient wisdom, because that's the pure form, right? So I just want to go into the pure energy. Now, what you need to know as well, by the way, and it's what I've noticed, because, I'm married to a Frenchman. I've lived in Belgium. I spent a lot of time in France, and I moved back to Ireland 2 years ago because I got a divine directive. And when I came back to Ireland, when I landed on the soil of Ireland, I really picked up that I had to heal as well. Like, I was like, where did this come from? The poverty consciousness. And yes. I really felt it was on the land, but it's in the psyche. So each country has its own psyche. So I would be doing a lot. I feel that's why I'm back, to be one of I'm not the only one doing this, right? So I'm one of those people that are really healing the psyche of the consciousness of Ireland in relation to its abundance, right? Because the Irish in particular do not encourage abundance. They're very quick to kind of dismiss them or throw away comments. So what we need to know is that as Celts, the Celts knew the power and the sacredness of gold, which was money at that time, right? They wore gold Turks around their necks because they knew the power, and that was their protection before they went out to battle. So we've got to shift that consciousness of saying money is an act of love. It's an energy that cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. So therefore, if you knew that about money, there is no need for you to be worrying about money, because money is always there. But what it will require of you is that you will do the uncomfortable, okay? Yeah. And that you will receive. So I would see a lot of women that are not good at receiving. They'll only let the money come in so far. So I'm like, hold on a minute. The package has been delivered to the door for you, and you're not opening up the door. I can't do that for you. Open up the door, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's like, oh my God, you know, like just a kind of a small shift of going, do you honestly think that the divine up there, whether that is God, you know, divine father, whatever you want to call it, but the universal energy, are you really believing that the divine is up there saying, yeah, I'm going to get her now to do her work, to step out into her greatness, make an impact in the world, touch the lives of many, and then say, then not reward her? There's a divine law of compensation. It's a
Yeah.
divine law. So
Yeah.
when we change our relationship with money, and when we change what we think and believe about money, because to be quite honest, it takes the exact same energy to generate income of 10,000 as 10 euros. It's only the belief that you have on what that amount of money means.
Yeah, something that's come to me, and it's an affirmation that I like to tell myself, that for me, that the actual, when, you know, when money comes in, it's almost like it's a universal blessing showing its approval for the work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's just a lovely way of working it, you know. So it's like the more you get, the more approval you're getting. It's like, yay, you know.
Yes, and we clear as well. We can clear the energy of money, because if you think about, you know, there's a lot of people that are paying bills in fear, but they're
Yeah.
passing that fear on. So if we can change that and say, the next time that I have money in my hand, I'm going to just feel unconditional love and gratitude. And you can also imagine like a white, you know, diamond light coming in to clear that and align the money to the purity of its original form. And so when you're making, like, you know, even going to a coffee shop and having a coffee, that when you're giving that money, that your intention, you don't have to necessarily say it, but your intention is blessed, you know, love, blessings, to continued abundance. And that will touch, you know, that money touches so many lives, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when you follow, I mean, you're lucky because Pierre, you're very much in alignment. So the having a partner that supports you and shares a vision and the energy and recognizes it. So a very good balance within a relationship. But, you know, because he moved from, you know, you moved your family from Brussels to Ireland, and because this was a feeling, an intuition, a guidance that and you'd had it for years before you actually came home and worked on it. But, you know, no man's an island. So, you know, the fact of having within the relationship that you have, that you had that support, that he also felt that it was right for him, you know, that this was right for the family, you know, and what to do is that you were going to learn and to grow. And you're absolutely right. I think a lot of the energy that's here, a lot of what it is that we're doing, we're you know, we have in our conscious, we have poverty, you know, we have famine, we have, you know, doctrination, we have colonialism, like we have so many things that we have to, you know, to overcome. And I think that's where the whole thing of, because we were never allowed, you had to leave the country to make a difference. So, you know, what a great time to be in, to stay in the country and to make a difference, to be able to transmute the energy, to be able to be in your own personal journey, to be able to overcome and transmute those energies, not only for yourself, but for your family and for your town or your city or your, you know, and your country, because it does expand out. And that's part of what it is that we're here. You know, we wouldn't be guided to be doing what it is we're doing if we didn't have, you know, that there's a mission, you know, your mission, should you choose to accept it. You know, there's a lot of women out there that are sitting on the edge, that have an awareness that they have something, you know, within them as well, that are learning to trust their intuition, because we've never been taught to trust our intuition, to trust our guidance. We've never been taught to trust our guidance. So everything that we do, and I think you get less fearful as you go along, Marcia, when you do make the steps, because our biggest fear is the fear of the unknown. But if you know within you, that light within you, that guiding light, that you actually feed it,
Mm.
You allow it to expand, that when you do make the steps, it actually is easier than you think. So it is.
Yes, and the unknown, like, you know, and I remember saying even this to you, you know, like you've had different phases when we were working together about the unknown. I'm like, great, Marie, that's where God is. Like, that's where the
Yeah.
divine is. Just like,
Yeah.
I think we've been conditioned. And also I feel it's like, we want to know. Why do you want to know? Because when you know, like the quantum field energy has already changed. So it's like, can you not just give yourself you know, a break, give yourself a break and say, oh my God, you know what? I'm in the unknown here. And
Yeah.
and I really feel we're in a very amazing time energy wise, that what was once impossible is now possible.
Totally. Absolutely. The world has been turned upside down. And it's very much a thing of, well, it's embracing your own personal choice.
Yes.
It's not about science, but it's actually, you know, in making a decision, how does that benefit you? How does that, you know, is that in alignment with what it is that you want to do? And each thing gives us a bit more insight and understanding to ourselves. I know, you know, for me, because I got lost in the roles that I was playing, like the first course that I did was like, who am I? And because totally lost, and I would not be unique with the women, you know, that would have been out there, that there are women that are going, they reach that certain stage. So they've, you know, they've gone to school, they've gone to college, they've met the man, they've had the family. And then it's like, okay, well, is that it? You know, there's definitely more. And it, you know, uncomfortable and all as it is, it's actually a great place to be.
Yeah.
If you use it, if you actually go exploring, if you give yourself permission, I said, okay, do you know what? I'm going to go and see how I can make myself whole again, you know. And then there's a realization that, as you said at the beginning, we came in with all of this stuff. We were always whole, but we just never gave ourselves the time or the expansion to develop what that actually meant to us. And each decision that we make empowers us.
Yes, and we already know deep inside, you know, we just need reminders. Like Inga has just made a comment there saying, thanks for reminding about putting the soul color into branding, because I know Inga, so we, you know, we've worked before together, and it's just like, we just need reminders, because there's so much bombarded to us. And in fact, if you take a step back and look at the whole system of the world, it's like putting the power outside of us.
Yes.
Where the
Yes,
power.
very much so. Yeah.
So it's like, I've got the power. I have this pure divine connection, right?
Yeah.
That you're going to, that to be honest is always there. And what I'm finding as well at the moment is that I'm hearing a lot of people say to me, I feel disconnected. And I said, listen, darling, you're not disconnected from divine source. What has happened is you're disconnected from the old paradigm of lack. You know, we've been living kind of like institutionalized.
Yes.
Of saying the power within, you know, the power of, you know, of putting all the power outside, the church, the governments, the, you know, the systems, the jobs, even the clients. Just like, you're unplugged from that. Of course you're used to, that's what you knew. You didn't want it. Now it's plugged out since the 31st of August. The energetics wise, that's been unplugged, and now you're plugged into, you know, to divinity in its true form, to a new template, which is the new Aquarian age of unconditional love, of worthiness, of showing up. And, you know, it's getting to the stage, particularly for women, to bring yourself to the table of life and say, I belong and I matter. And we celebrate each other, because we're not taking from anyone. I think that's the other thing too. We've been conditioned that we're taking from it. There's more than enough to go around. And so this is why people are feeling disconnected, because this is a new energy for them. And on their journey of their soul's development, whether they're in the awakening phase, or the, you know, finding their purpose, or on their mission, or on their calling. Like, the soul has these 4 stages. And so as long as you're kind of reminded and say, you know, so stop saying that you're disconnected. You're not. You can never be disconnected.
Yeah.
but you're disconnected from this template and you're just finding your feet in a new template.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you're mentioning the phases, because you spoke about that before, Marcia, and I went, "Oh my God, she's so right," because so if you, because there's almost like a timing involved, and I said, "Even your timing is right." So if you want to tell people about those 4 stages of discovering that spiritual entrepreneur, that spiritual light within you, and allowing yourself to shine. So the first phase is the awakening, is it?
So the awakening, like exactly what you were saying at the beginning there, it's like, the awakening is very different for everybody, but it's basically the question that people would be asking is this it? There's got to be more to life, that you really have got to the point of thinking, I can't actually do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. This is not suiting me. So then, of course, the awakening is you're starting to ask questions. You're starting to find solutions. So you start researching. Okay. So the next phase, so that's a journey in itself, where it's a discovery. Oh my God, and you get excited. It really feels that you could feed yours. It fills you up. And you're learning also lots of maybe tools and skills that are going to really support you and show you you are the creator of your life, right? And the outside circumstances are just a result of your thought process, right? So then the next phase that kind of unfolds from that is that you've discovered now something. You're thinking, oh my God, I want to share this with everybody. This is just life-changing. And so this is where you feel you're on a purpose. You feel you have a sense of purpose and sometimes, as well, by the way, it's like, people's purpose is different. It's just like, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. Like, I'm finding and seeing, actually, with a few clients that I'm working with at the moment, they're in corporate jobs, but their presence is required there at that time. So that's right. So, but you have this, so that you really want to share and pass on the knowledge that you've gained, and you feel really passionate about it, right? So there's definitely a calling in here that I am going to share. And then the third phase is when you're on a mission. So you are on a mission and you're really ready now to fully let go of the smallness, right? You are getting ready to talk more about it, be established in your business, like to really say, I'm creating a channel, really, which is like your business, to pass this on. So you really are ready. You're kind of more putting yourself in the arena of being seen, of doing what you're doing now, Marie, like doing these videos, really stepping up and saying, I am bringing this out to the wider world. And of course, for that, you're also developing yourself about, what it requires, like, learning about the tech, learning about the belief systems, learning about all, the emotions, learning, so there's a lot more kind of inner work that's involved. And then the next phase, which is the final phase, where it feels like you have a calling. This is where your soul feels that it's not just here, it's right through your body. Your body, your soul has been fully embodied in your body, and you really feel unstoppable, like that, that it doesn't matter the glitches that might happen, because you are trailblazing, you're on a mission, you're doing what it takes, you're using the challenges, because you've learned, as kind of bouncing boards, like to take you to the next level, and you just have much more courage. And just like Goddess Isis, who is the divine feminine goddess, like, she had a vision, she had an intention, and she was unstoppable. She didn't care what she was being told. Her husband was cut in 14 different parts, spread all over Egypt, and she went and found him and brought him back to life using her energetic power and the power of her words. and she had a child by him. And that is the phase, like that's the power that's in all of us. And that's that phase where you're fully accepting and you're doing it.
Yes. And yeah, there is. I think there's a whole process as well involved in gaining confidence along the way, in yourself and your abilities. So each phase, it's almost like you're required to go through each phase so that you can, you can allow it to integrate. You can settle with it, and then it's like, okay, now it's time to move up, and instinctively when it is.
Yeah.
And we nearly always know for about, probably a year or so before we actually start doing, because it's always there in the back of your mind and it never goes away.
Yeah.
Something is there, when the thought is not going away, then, that there's something more, that you need to be stepping up, then, it's going to stay there until you listen to it, until you actually start doing something about it. So you have a wonderful group that you have created at the Divinely Prosper, where you use the ancient divine feminine to help and support women in business, particularly entrepreneurs, I think mostly, Marcia. So tell us a bit about the group.
Yeah, there's I'd say about 90%. And that's the other thing too, is just like, so this group, Divinely Prosper, I got this name August last year. And again, I had no clue what it was about. I just got the name. I was like, what's this? And then about 3 or 4 weeks after that, I started getting like trickles of information come in about what it was. So this space is, the concept really is, you're leaving the land of lack, limitation, and also the story, which I think, women have. It's like women can be bitches and women go against women, but we're changing that paradigm because, again, in the history, it's like, that other woman. So it's like, so we're moving to a whole new island, and we are really claiming our power as women, and we're supporting each other. So we're doing a lot of healing, lack, limitation, not good enough. Where I'm also kind of in there helping women to, guiding women really to not do business like they have been doing, because it doesn't work. So it's really learning that for them to kind of tune into the energy of their business, to tune into the soul of their business, their programs, tuning into the energy. So really it's learning as well about, it's not about what you want. It's this detachment. It's like what the higher power wants for you, and letting that come in, and then having tools to clear the energy, clear the energy of our space, clear the energy of ourselves. Having, because we're also affected by the collective. So making sure that what we're thinking are our thoughts, and that they're not the influence of other people's thoughts. So lots of different tools and techniques to keep people rising rather than staying in stagnation. And so what we're also doing is we have our own economy really, because I'm encouraging that we buy from each other, that we support each other, that we really are, we are really, had the same interest in every woman and their life as if it was our own. So it's really creating kind of a love-based culture, an abundance culture. And there are, again, like about 10 women who are not in business, but again, when they reached out to me, it was so intuitively guided that I was like, I'm not getting involved in God's plan for you. So there are people in there as well, and they're discovering more about who am I? So they're happy to be in that energy. So, and then for that, I do like 2 calls. We work with the moon. We work also with the energetics of, the cycles of the energy. So this month, for example, we're working on the body. So the power of why it's really important to look after our bodies, because if we want to live from a higher frequency and a higher vibration and live from the energy of our soul, we have to be able to, our body has to hold that frequency. So we're doing a lot of work around clearing out the body and really preparing it to hold on a very deep level the frequencies.
The higher, because that's definitely something that coming in the higher vibration that that yeah, that you can feel, you know, that inner buzz, you know, for want of a better word. But yes, that frequency and I think when you embody that, it's I've always felt that women, you know, that do this sort of work, that we're lighthouses as well. It's
Yes.
like, you know, there's a pulse that you send out that just, you know, that you need so that you can attract the other light, you know, it's like
Yeah.
that magnetic to come to connect with you. And to do that, then you have to be seen and heard, or else if nobody knows about you, then they can't, you know, they can't be attracted to that gravitational pull that brings women together. And you're so true. I mean, there are the majority of the women that I would know, particularly from networking, would be very, you know, intuitive, empathic, empowered, who would be very much on the what is it that we can do for each other rather than the opposite. And I can thank God that I've had very few occasions in my life where I've come up against that you know, the corrupted feminine, you
Yeah.
know, of women where they're so repressed, you
Mhm.
know, that they don't know their own power, and they think that it's through control and manipulation, whereas it is totally not.
Yeah.
But you know, that's part of their journey of what it is, you know, that they need to come.
Heart-based, like spiritually open, really.
Yeah,
We also need a space for us to kind of have a safe landing, and that's the other reason
yeah,
is divinely
yeah,
possible. These women are like powerhouses. They've a big mission. They are leaders. Like they're not followers. They're groundbreakers,
yeah,
and they need actually for this space to nourish them to be able to go
yeah,
from a place of abundance rather than depletion to do this great work and have the courage. And we're all there reminding them,
yeah,
like, yes, you can do it. You can do it. So it's like, so, and also, so you're not, you know, when you have those downers, because we do have those downers. Like someone was asking me the other day saying, you know, Marcia, are you really, are you glad you moved back to Ireland? I was like, yes, I'm glad I moved back to Ireland, but it hasn't been easy, right? It has not been an easy ride because there were so many things to first of all, my children didn't speak English, so they, had to learn, or their English wasn't, they understood it, but they weren't very good at speaking it. So that was a big thing for them. We left a lovely 4-bedroomed house, to a small 3-bedroomed, semi.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
very grateful for it. We've spent a year trying to get planning. My husband now is away for 2 weeks, and I have 3 children on my own that I'm managing, plus my own business. So it hasn't, but I've said, but through it all, it has been the best move because,
yeah,
so I think we also have to know that if we're expanding, and I
yeah,
have a vision, it's just like I keep on, because we're building this house, that's keeping me going. I'm like, I'm doing what it takes, the
yeah,
uncomfortable, and I'm learning more about myself, and I'm
yeah.
also showing people that actually your intuition does not sometimes give you an easy ride. You've got to ride the
Yes,
waves, but it's
yeah,
to interact, and I do feel as well that I'm so guided and supported by the divine as well.
yeah,
But it hasn't, it has had a lot, there's been a lot of ups and downs.
yeah. And I think, you know, there's not a person out there just that doesn't like to be reassured that they're doing the right thing, or that, you know, and that comes from it, you know, you can get it from within, but to have the universal energy out there sending its approval and saying, yes, you know, keep going, it's
Yes,
fine, you know. And I think that's great, because, you know, one thing that we is that we can have that sense of, you know, that we're on our own or whatever, but when you're truly in tune, my words get, when you're truly in tune with the spirit, that guidance is there, and that belief, you know, that, you know what, this is right, this is the way it's meant to be, this is what it is that we need to do. And when you think about the experience that you're going through, even in building your house, it's like we get extra depth
mm,
and knowledge from that experience, is because it's going to test us. Well, do you truly believe that you can manifest? Okay, let's put this in your way and see how you work that out. And, you know, so, but that's just life. Yeah, it is just life. Marcia, I can't believe it. We're talking for nearly 55 minutes. We better stop now.
Yeah.
As always, you know, Marcia, I consider a soul sister because, you know, we connect on different levels and we come in and out of each other's lives and we'll always be there for each other. So I want to say thank you so much for being my guest today.
No.
And September, you know, because yeah, we just do one thing. So that each month has a color. So the color for September is
Turquoise.
turquoise.
And this is a very powerful one because turquoise is the color vibration for the year. For 2021, the color vibration
Year.
for
Yeah.
the year. And this month for September, it is also it's the color vibration for September. So it's a potent, it's very potent in the energy of turquoise. So what is turquoise? Turquoise is really you speaking from your heart, right? Speaking out from your heart. It's also like that you are all heart. So there would be a lot of kind of maybe heart healing. It's an emotional color. So it's associated as well, like with the sea. So,
Yeah.
you know, there could be a lot of, there is a lot of emotions that need to be dealt with and,
Yeah.
you know, released, let's say. And it really is about this, like the one-liner message is about being true to yourself and being true to your power. You have got the power, and it's the balance of, you know, heart and soul, right? So it's like, this is what this energy, when we have this color around, like if you look at turquoise, it automatically calms you down. It relaxes. Like it's peaceful. It's just like, so it's really an invitation of being at peace with what is.
Yeah.
Acceptance and being at peace with yourself and allowing that color, like breathing that color in, having that color around you to really support you and to know that you've got this and the divine has got you always, always.
Definitely. You are not here to be alone. You're here to connect and to empower, to transmute, to expand, to transform. You know, we're here to transform not only our own lives, and we're always great templates ourselves, you know, what it is that we're working on, because if we're working on it, then, you know, there is definitely other women out there that in particular that are working on it. And that this is taking nothing away from the men, because the men have their own journey, but for us in particular, it's the women, because in fairness, you know, with the history, we need as many women as possible to be standing up, to be seen, to be heard, and to be felt as if they are worthy, because we all are, and loved, and we are full of heart, that in our heart that activates, you know, that allows us to follow our dreams. Marcia, thank you, darling. I love you. Big hug of love. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye. Bye-bye.